The discovery at Rigel Station. Commander Sarah Mitchell stood in the observation deck of Rigel Station, watching the cargo ships drift past like fireflies in the darkness. She had commanded this remote research outpost for 3 years now, studying ancient alien artifacts that nobody really understood. It was quiet work, boring work, the kind of assignment that meant your career had stalled somewhere along the way. She was fine with that. After losing her husband in the Mars colony disaster, quiet was exactly what she needed. The station housed 47 scientists and engineers from Earth's Frontier Research Division. They spent their days examining fragments of technology left behind by the architects, a mysterious alien race that had vanished from the galaxy over 50,000 years ago. The architects had built incredible things, structures that defied physics, devices that seemed to manipulate reality itself. But they were gone now, leaving only their ruins scattered across hundreds of star systems. Today started like any other day. Sarah drank her coffee, reviewed the duty reports, and prepared for another round of staff meetings. Then everything changed. Dr. James Park burst into her office without knocking, his face pale and his hands shaking. He was the station's lead archaeologist, a careful man who never got excited about anything. Seeing him like this made Sarah's heart race. "Commander, you need to see this right now," James said, his voice cracking with emotion. "We found something in Vault 7. Something active." Sarah felt her coffee cup slip from her fingers. Active architect technology was supposed to be impossible. Everything they had ever found was dead, dormant, completely inactive. The architects had been gone for so long that their power sources had failed millennia ago. She followed James through the station's corridors, past laboratories where scientists were gathering in excited clusters. Word was spreading fast. They descended 3 levels into the vault section, a heavily secured area where the most dangerous artifacts were stored. Vault 7 was the newest addition, carved out of an asteroid just 6 months ago. Inside, a team of 12 researchers stood around a crystalline structure that Sarah had seen 100 times before. It was 3 meters tall, shaped like a spiral staircase made of blue glass. They had pulled it from an architect temple on Kepler 9. For 2 years it had sat in storage, just another pretty mystery that told them nothing. Now it was glowing. Light pulsed through the crystal in waves, moving from bottom to top like a heartbeat. The air around it shimmered with energy. Sarah could feel static electricity raising the hair on her arms. "What happened?" she demanded. "We don't know." Dr. Lisa Chen stepped forward. She was the team's physicist, brilliant and careful. "We were running standard scans, the same ones we've done 1,000 times. Then at exactly 0900 hours, it just turned on. We haven't touched it or changed anything." Sarah moved closer, fascinated despite her caution. The crystal was beautiful, hypnotic. The light seemed to contain patterns, almost like information flowing through a network. "Have you tried communicating with it?" "Not yet. We wanted your authorization first," James said. "This could be dangerous. Everything about the architects is potentially dangerous." Sarah knew he was right. There were stories, warnings from other research stations. Some architect devices had killed people, others had driven researchers insane. One artifact had destroyed an entire outpost before it could be shut down. But this felt different. The energy radiating from the crystal was not hostile. It felt more like an invitation. "Do it," Sarah said. "Try to establish communication." Lisa nodded and returned to her console. She began broadcasting simple mathematical sequences, the universal language that every spacefaring civilization understood. Prime numbers, basic equations, geometric patterns. For 5 minutes, nothing happened. Then the crystal responded. The light pulsed 3 times, then 5 times, then 7 times. Prime numbers. It was answering. The research team erupted in excited chatter. Sarah felt tears forming in her eyes. In 3 years of searching, they had never gotten any response from architect technology. This was the breakthrough that every xenoarchaeologist dreamed about. Lisa continued the dialogue, moving to more complex mathematics. The crystal kept responding, its answers coming faster and faster. Then without warning, the light changed. Instead of blue, it turned deep red. A sound filled the vault, a low vibration that Sarah felt in her bones. Images began forming in the air above the crystal. They were holograms, incredibly detailed, showing things that Sarah struggled to understand. She saw star systems, thousands of them, connected by lines of light. She saw enormous structures being built in space, platforms the size of planets. She saw the architects themselves, tall beings made of energy rather than matter, creating wonders that humanity could barely imagine. Then she saw the war. Darkness spreading across the galaxy like a plague. The architects fighting something terrible, something that consumed entire civilizations. She saw their great works falling, their cities burning, their people dying. The images moved faster now, showing the final days. The architects retreating, hiding, preparing. They were building something, a weapon or a message or both. They were leaving something behind for whoever came after them. The hologram focused on a single location, coordinates burning themselves into Sarah's mind. A planet she recognized, a world that humanity had surveyed but never colonized. It was called Threshold, a dead rock orbiting a dying star in the outer regions of explored space. The crystal's light intensified to blinding brightness. Then it went dark, completely silent. The hologram vanished. For a long moment, nobody spoke. What just happened? James whispered. Sarah looked at her team, seeing her own shock reflected in their faces. I think we just received a message. She said slowly. From the architects. Left for whoever was smart enough to find it. What kind of message? Lisa asked. Sarah remembered the coordinates burned into her mind, the desperate urgency in those final images. A warning. She said quietly. And maybe an inheritance. Whatever the architects were fighting, whatever destroyed them, I think they left us the tools to fight it too. We need to go to Threshold. Journey to Threshold. 3 weeks later, Sarah stood on the bridge of the research vessel Pioneer, watching Threshold grow larger on the view screen. Getting authorization for this expedition had been easier than she expected. When she reported the crystal's message to Earth Command, they immediately assigned her a ship and a full crew. Apparently, other research stations had been experiencing similar activations. All across human space, architect artifacts were waking up after 50,000 years of silence. Something was happening, something big, and humanity needed to understand it fast. The Pioneer was not a military vessel, but it carried enough firepower to handle most threats. Commander David Torres, a career Navy officer, had been assigned as Sarah's military liaison. He was a practical man in his 50s who did not particularly believe in ancient alien mysteries but followed his orders without complaint. His presence reminded Sarah that Earth Command was taking this seriously, perhaps more seriously than she was comfortable with. They were treating this like a potential military situation rather than a scientific discovery. The crew of 85 included scientists, engineers, marines, and support staff. Sarah had handpicked the research team, bringing the best xenoarchaeologists and physicists she could find. Dr. Park and Dr. Chen were with her, along with 15 other specialists. They had spent the 3-week journey studying every piece of data about the architects, preparing for whatever they might find on Threshold. The planet itself was unremarkable by most standards. It was a rocky world, slightly smaller than Mars, with a thin atmosphere that could not support human life. Surveys from 20 years ago had found nothing of interest, just dead stone and dust. But the architects had hidden their most important secrets well. If they wanted something found, they would have left clues that only activated at the right time. As the Pioneer entered orbit, the sensor arrays went to work. At first, they found exactly what the old surveys had reported, nothing but empty wasteland. Then Lieutenant Maria Santos, the chief sensor operator, gasped at her console. "Commander Mitchell, I'm picking up massive energy signatures from the northern hemisphere. They just appeared out of nowhere." Sarah moved to look over her shoulder. The readings showed a structure, enormous and complex, sitting in the middle of a crater. "How did we miss this before? It wasn't there before," Maria said, her voice filled with wonder. "I'm comparing current scans with the survey data from 20 years ago. That location was empty then. This appeared within the last 30 seconds. It materialized." Commander Torres joined them, his expression skeptical. "That's impossible. Nothing that size can just appear. With architect technology, impossible is just a word," Sarah said. She studied the structure on the screen. It was a pyramid, or something like a pyramid, made of the same blue crystal as the device on Rigel Station. It was massive, over 2 kilometers tall, glowing with the same pulsing light. "This is it. This is what they left for us. I'm taking a team down there." Torres shook his head. "Not without a full security detail. We have no idea what that thing is or what it might do. I'm sending 20 Marines with you." Sarah wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. "Fine. But they follow my orders once we're inside. We're here to learn, not to fight." 2 hours later, Sarah stood on the surface of Threshold, looking up at the crystal pyramid. It was even more impressive in person, towering above them like a mountain made of light. The away team consisted of Sarah, James, Lisa, and 20 Marines led by Sergeant Marcus Webb, a calm professional who treated every situation like a tactical exercise. The pyramid had an entrance, a doorway 20 meters high that had opened as soon as they approached. Inside, they found corridors that seemed to go on forever, walls covered in symbols that Lisa immediately started photographing. The air inside was breathable somehow, warm and fresh despite being on a dead planet. Architect environmental systems were still working after all this time. They walked for what felt like hours, following the passages deeper into the structure. The walls showed more holograms, more images of the ancient war. Sarah began to understand what had happened. The architects had fought something called the Void, an enemy that existed partially outside normal reality. The Void consumed everything it touched, entire species, entire galaxies. The architects had been the galaxy's defenders for millions of years, but eventually even they could not hold the line. They had created weapons, incredible devices that manipulated space and time and gravity itself. But it was not enough. In the end, they had done something desperate. They had sealed the Void away, trapped it in a prison that existed between dimensions. The cost had been their own existence. The effort had destroyed them, scattered their consciousness across the galaxy, left them as nothing but fading energy and ancient ruins. But they had known the prison would not hold forever. Eventually, the Void would break free. So they left a message, a warning, and a gift. They left their weapons, their knowledge, their final legacy for whoever came after them. The corridor ended in a massive chamber. In the center stood a platform, and on that platform sat a sphere of pure white light. It was beautiful and terrible, humming with power that made Sarah's teeth ache. Around the sphere, holographic text appeared in a language that none of them could read. Then the text changed, shifting and morphing until it became English. The translation systems were adapting, learning from their presence. To those who follow. The text read. We are the architects, the guardians who failed. The Void comes again. In 17 cycles of your star, the prison will break. You must be ready. We give you our knowledge, our weapons, our hope. Humanity is young but strong. You have what we lost, the will to fight even when victory seems impossible. Take our gift. Learn from our mistakes. Save the galaxy that we could not. Sarah reached out toward the sphere, her hand trembling. What do we do? James asked beside her. We take the gift. Sarah said. We learn everything they have to teach us. And then we prepare for war. Her fingers touched the sphere, and the universe exploded with light.